Welcome back to Cozy English Corner. I am your host, Alex, and today we have a really important conversation lined up for you.
Hello, everyone. I am Harper, and I am so glad to be here with you all today.
It is great to have you, Harper. We are recording this right from the heart of Columbus, Ohio. And I have to say, the weather today is a perfect example of Midwestern unpredictability.
You are absolutely right. Yesterday, I was walking down High Street in a heavy winter coat because it was snowing. And this morning, the humidity is already building up.
Exactly. You never quite know what to expect. And that unpredictability actually brings us to our topic for today, understanding how native speakers use I think versus I feel.
This is such a crucial topic. In my previous career as a chef here in the Short North Arts District, communication in the kitchen had to be perfectly clear. A single misunderstood word could ruin a dinner service.
That makes perfect sense. And for many English learners, mixing up these two small phrases is a constant source of anxiety. It is not just about grammar. It is about the fear of sounding incompetent.
I understand that completely. When you are sitting in a corporate meeting or trying to express yourself to a new friend, you want to be taken seriously. Saying, I feel the report is wrong, instead of, I think the report is wrong, completely changes how people judge you.
Let us explore that difference right now. We have two very simple rules to start with. Rule number 1, we use I think for ideas, opinions, and information processed by our brain.
Right. Things like logic, calculations, and predictions. For example, if I look at the dark clouds over the Olentangy River, I would say, I think it is going to rain.
Exactly. You are making a guess based on visual evidence. Your mind is doing the work. Another example is stating an opinion. I think this restaurant serves the best food.
But rule number 2 is entirely different. We use I feel for emotions or physical sensations inside the body. Joy, sadness, exhaustion, hunger.
Yes, if you work a 10-hour shift and your muscles hurt, you do not say, I think tired. You say, I feel tired.
It sounds very simple when we separate them like that, the brain versus the body. So why do so many smart, capable people struggle with this in daily conversation?
That is the real question. I believe it comes down to a deep insecurity about speaking a second language. When you are translating in your head, you often grab the first word that feels close enough to your native language.
And the danger there is how the listener perceives it. I read a fascinating study in cognitive psychology recently about this exact language pattern.
Oh, please share that. I love knowing the science behind our communication.
The study showed that when you use the phrase, I think, it activates the analytical, logical hemisphere of the listener's brain. They immediately evaluate your statement as a piece of data.
That makes sense. You are inviting them to agree or disagree with a fact.
Exactly. But when you say, I feel, it triggers the empathy centers of their brain. So, if a learner says, I feel the meeting starts at 3, the native speaker's brain actually experiences a tiny moment of confusion.
Because the listener is subconsciously preparing to process an emotion, but instead they receive a schedule update. It creates a subtle disconnect.
Yes, and when that happens frequently in a professional setting, people might unfairly judge the speaker as being less competent or overly emotional just because of one incorrect verb.
That is a powerful realization. It shows why this is not just textbook practice. Getting this right protects your professional reputation.
Let us practice correcting some of these common mistakes together. I hear this one a lot. I feel tomorrow is a holiday.
Right. Because a holiday is a fact on a calendar, not an emotion, the natural way to say it is, I think tomorrow is a holiday.
What about this one? Someone is preparing for an important job interview downtown, and they say, I think nervous.
That is physically impossible. You cannot think a nervous state. The correct phrasing is, I feel nervous. It is a reaction in your chest and stomach.
It seems straightforward, but I have to bring up a specific cultural habit we have here in the Midwest, which definitely confuses people.
Are you talking about the phrase, I feel like?
Yes, native speakers break their own rules all the time. You will hear someone say, I feel like this project is a bad idea. By our earlier rule, that should be, I think, because it is an opinion.
That is a brilliant observation. When Americans use I feel like followed by an opinion, they are usually trying to soften their statement.
Exactly. Here in Columbus, people value friendliness and avoid direct confrontation. Saying, I think you are wrong, feels aggressive. Saying, I feel like we might have made a mistake, preserves the relationship.
It is a protective shield. It translates an objective debate into a subjective personal experience, making it much harder for the other person to attack your opinion.
However, we need to warn our listeners. If you use I feel like too often in a professional environment, it can damage your authority.
I completely agree. There is an unspoken pain there, especially for non-native speakers who just want to be polite. They overuse I feel like, and their managers stop viewing them as confident leaders.
Strategic. So, here is a practical guideline. Use I think when you need to be respected for your knowledge. Use I feel like when you need to navigate a sensitive interpersonal conflict.
That is wonderful advice. Now, let us move into some daily conversational practice. I will give you a scenario, Harper, and you tell me the most natural response.
I am ready. Give me a good one.
Imagine we are looking at the menu for a new Italian place near the Ohio State campus. I ask you, is the food here good?
I would say, I think the pasta is amazing, because judging the quality of food is an opinion based on my experience.
Perfect. What if we finish the meal and you ate too much?
Then I would definitely say, I feel extremely full. That is an undeniable physical sensation.
It is interesting how those two sentences exist side by side in the exact same event. Let us try a professional scenario. Your boss asks if the quarterly report is ready.
Professional. I would respond, I think it will be finished by tomorrow morning. That is a professional estimate.
Yes. And if you secretly know the deadline is impossible and you are carrying the weight of that stress,
then later, when I talk to my colleague in private, I would confess, I feel overwhelmed by this project.
That right there is the core of natural English. You used think for the task and feel for your internal reaction to the task.
I want to point out another mistake I used to hear often. Sometimes people try to use the continuous tense and say, I am thinking this is a good idea.
Ah, yes. In standard American English, when we state an opinion, we rarely use the ing form. We just say, I think this is a good idea.
The only time you really use I am thinking is when you are actively pondering a future action, like, I am thinking about moving to Chicago.
Exactly. You are describing the process of making a decision, not stating a fixed belief. It is a small distinction, but it immediately makes you sound more native.
Let us give our audience a short mental checklist they can use when they are nervous. If they are in a conversation and freeze up, what should they do?
I have a great trick for this. Before you speak, ask yourself, could I replace this word with in my opinion? If yes, use I think.
That is brilliant. So instead of saying, in my opinion, this coffee is cold, you just say, I think this coffee is cold.
And the second part of the trick, ask yourself, is this happening inside my body? If yes, use I feel.
Like saying, inside my body, I am dizzy. Therefore, I feel dizzy. That makes the rules concrete, rather than just abstract grammar concepts.
Language should never be abstract. It is how we connect. Speaking of connection, we have some everyday phrases we want to share that use these words naturally.
Yes, let us run through a few quick responses. If someone asks, is the store still open, and you are not entirely sure, what is the best response?
The most natural thing to say is, I think so. It is short, polite, and indicates you believe it is true without guaranteeing it.
And the negative version of that is simply, I do not think so. Very clean, very standard.
Now, what if a friend explains a complex situation and you agree with their perspective?
You look them in the eye and say, I think you are right. It validates their logic. It builds immense trust.
On the emotional side, let us say you just survived a grueling presentation at work and you step out of the room.
I would take a deep breath and say, I feel so relieved. That is the release of physical tension.
We really want you, the listener, to practice these. It is not enough to just hear us say them. You have to train the muscle memory in your own mouth.
That is so true. Whenever I am learning a new concept, I have to repeat it out loud. Otherwise, it just stays stuck in my head as a passive thought.
Before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a reflection exercise. We want you to analyze your own day using these two structures.
I love this idea. Complete these 2 sentences based on your actual life today. Sentence 1. I think today was...
And sentence 2, I feel...
Providing an example. For example, you might say, I think today was productive. And I feel proud of my work.
Try to say them out loud right now. Let your brain process the difference between evaluating your day and experiencing your emotions.
It is such a small shift in vocabulary, but it deeply changes how confidently you interact with the world.
Thank you so much for bringing your perspective today, Harper. Your practical examples make all the difference.
It was my pleasure, Alex. Remember, everyone, native English is not about perfect grammar rules. It is about understanding the human reality behind the words.
Well said. Thank you all for joining us here at Cozy English Corner. Keep practicing, do not be afraid to make mistakes, and we will see you in the next episode.